Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Lone Wolf Podcast. Oh boy, today it's a Unity Through Music segment, but it's not going to be the usual kind. This is a criticism of a song that has recently come out that is absolutely ridiculous. It is a pro-war stinker. Okay? This has been shown on Fox News with Sean Hannity, a guy who has never really met a war he didn't like. This was shown on his show as, I guess, this song has gone viral, and just listen to what they think, and blah. For those who don't know, the song is called Blood on My Hands, and it's by, God, what's the guy's name? John Ondrasik. His last name is spelled Ondrasik, so I'm guessing that's Ondrasik, something like that. But, man, we're going to break the song down first, and then I've got to tell you what some people have said in the comment section, which I just find absolutely disrespectful to good music. But we'll get to that later. Let's get to this song because, oh boy, do we have some stuff to break down here. Let's get to it.
Got blood on my hands. Got blood on my hands. And I don't understand what's happening.
So, what exactly are you trying to say? You got blood on your hands, and I don't understand what's happening. Okay, I can interpret that a few ways. You're either the, character from the last Conjuring movie, where the devil made you do it. You got blood all over your hands, and you don't remember what you did. You're a complete lunatic, and you've just done something and you've got blood all over your hands and you don't know why you did it. Or, I guess maybe you could be referring to something taking place in Afghanistan. Obviously, that's what he's trying to get at. But the way he's put it, I don't know, just doesn't sound very genius in terms of music to me. I've listened to great musicians over the years of all different genres who can word the things they say a certain way to deliver a deep message. This two-word crap. Got blood on my hands, and I don't understand what's happening. Wow. I mean, hey, man, you're going to go to the top of the charts with this one, my guy. Wow. Okay. But we're not here to, bash what should be number one on the music charts. We're here to break down the message. And so far, I've got blood on my hands, I got blood on my hands, and I don't understand what's happening. Okay? Not a lot of substance so far, but let's continue.
There's blood on these hands, and still Americans left to the Taliban. Hee hee hee.
Okay, so I guess to try to make someone like this stinker, you had to throw the Michael Jackson hee in on it. I mean, hey, your voice is definitely high-pitched enough, man. It doesn't sound like your nuts ever dropped. But that's neither here nor there. It's all about the messaging, at least, right? So, I just covered. What did he say to start with? I got blood on my hands. I got blood on my hands, and I don't understand what's happening. Okay, we get to another little bit. There's blood on these hands. How many times you gonna say the same thing before you say anything else in the song? Like, how many songs have you ever heard where you just say the same thing for 90% of the song, and it is known to be a great song. There was more lyrics, actual different lyrics, to Old MacDonald than there is to this song. Like, if you believe in what you're saying, and you want to put something out there, I mean, hey, I guess credit for trying, but the reason I'm breaking down what kind of a freaking stinker this thing is because of what people have said about it. And again, I'm going to get to that at the end of the video. Like, to me, this shows a level of indoctrination to tribal politics that is really disturbing. That what people have said about this. But again, we're going to get back to that. But there's blood on these hands, and still Americans left to the Taliban. So at first when I heard that, I'm like, there's blood on these hands and still Americans. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. And then he said left to the Taliban. Okay, so you're talking about with the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and certain people did not get exited on departure flights. They got left behind. You had that whole talking point. There was going to be blood on the hands, and, Americans would die as a result. There was the bombing attack, and that caused the loss of life, and with the suicide bombers. So this was the talking point used to attack Joe Biden for how he withdrew. And I've said, could he have done a much better job in certain elements? Yeah. But overall, we needed to get out of the war. And let's be clear. Blood on the hands because of the Taliban and because of Afghanistan. You mean the way that there's blood on the hands, been blood on our hands for the civilians that we've killed in that country with drone strikes and bombs, bullets, missiles. We've killed a lot of people. For what reason? We went into a country to invade it, to take out Al-Qaeda. Now remember, okay, Afghanistan offered us, when 9/11 took place, they offered us bin Laden. All we had to do was turn over the proof that he was responsible for conducting 9/11. And the United States simply would not do it. They wanted to go to war in Afghanistan. Turns out, Afghanistan has a whole lot of minerals and valuable things over there that are really great for the business interests here in the United States. When you go back and you look at the U.S. and how it conducts its wars, there's obviously been wars that, for the safety of the world, were becoming necessary. Like World War II, for example. What Hitler was trying to do. Okay? It was pretty much unavoidable. The man was trying to take over the world, basically. Okay? And to put a stop to it, things had to be done. But Eisenhower warned of the military-industrial complex getting out of control. The Republican president, the military general, warned that arms manufacturing and the military-industrial complex has the opportunity to spiral out of control if it is not kept in check. And if you go through the line of war after war after war, from Vietnam on up to today, you can find money reasons why we went into those wars, why it was financial to a certain group of people, most likely powerful business interests within the United States who stand to make a lot of money. Halliburton, Dick Cheney's old company, stood to make a lot of money off this war in Afghanistan and off the war in Iraq. The Bush family really wanted it. They want the oil. They wanted Iraq's oil fields because the Bush family had traded in the oil business for quite some time. And Daddy Bush tried to go in. It failed miserably, so Bush Jr. had unfinished business to, take care of Daddy's honor. Okay? Even things that weren't full-blown wars. When we went after Castro in Cuba. Like Castro or not, I'm not defending him, but The reason we did it was because prior to Castro, under Batista, the organized crime was running a lot of Cuba. The mafia controlled a lot of interest in Cuba, and it was more or less like a tourist haven where the money was all coming back to the organized crime groups, not to the Cuban people. It was a rampant corruption, and that is how Castro got his revolution started. So, turns out in Afghanistan, they found a whole lot of lithium in Afghanistan. Lithium is used in rechargeable batteries, laptops, cell phones, TVs, electric cars. It is used all over the place today. Lithium is a very valuable asset, and they found a vein of it in Afghanistan that was worth about $1 trillion, and they found this years ago. Also, when we first went into Afghanistan, it was during an international recession that took place when the Taliban started putting the poppy growers in Afghanistan out of business. Turns out, Afghanistan has a massive poppy production. They make enough poppy in the world to supply most of the world's heroin. We fight a war on drugs here. This country's growing enough poppy to supply most of the world's heroin. And when the Taliban started putting the poppy growers out of business, just so happened a lot of that laundered money in the international banks started drying up, sent us into a world recession. Shortly after we went in, we started taking over. There was a certain industry that went back to full swing. The poppy industry. If you don't believe me, check those things for yourself and do your own research. So, blood on the hands? Yeah, literally there's blood on the hands. Think of all the people who have died under the guise we have to fight terrorism, even after Al-Qaeda was gone. Then we had to nation build. Oh yeah, now I've got to build a nation and make a democracy safe haven. All the while that people are dying for basically blood money, for drug cartels, for big businesses that wanted access to that lithium. That's blood money. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is blood on people's hands, but not for the reason that you're kind of criticizing for here. It's convenient. You want to talk about the withdrawal and the blood that's on the hands from that, but you're not going to talk about all the innocent Afghani blood that's been shed as a result of a bullshit war, or the blood of our troops that went to fight in a bullshit war. Funny you don't want to bring that up. Okay, but we'll continue.
Now how's that happening? Winking, blinking, can't you look me in the eyes? Willy, Millie, tell me, when did you decide this will defend your sacred motto? Now means never mind.
What part of this lyrically goes together like oil and water? Now how's that happening? Winkin', blinkin', willy-milly. Dude, it's obvious what he's trying to do. He's trying to be clever like President Trump and give nicknames to people. Except, you suck at it, my friend. Trump could be a little more creative at times for the nicknames that he gave. Yours sound like you tried way too damn hard. Yours sound very forced, very fake, and they definitely don't carry the humor. Some might say even when Trump does it, it's childish. It's something that elementary school kids do, but yours definitely sound that way. Winking, blinking, can you look me in the eyes? What? You think that a corrupt dingbat can't look you in the eye? You think these corrupt politicians, like, I'm not defending Blinken, I'm not defending Milley, I'm not defending Biden. I don't like them. Okay? I think they've definitely shown a disrespect and an apathy for our Constitution when they want to. Especially Milley with what came out on him recently. Okay? But you think these corrupt people can't look you in the eye and just lie right to your face? They've got no conscience, my man. They got no conscience. Of course he can look you in the eye. He got no problem with that. He's making boatloads of money, son. That's what his end game is. It's about doing what his financial interests want so he can live wealthy and comfortably for the rest of his life. Milley is a war hawk. So yeah, I mean, Milley is at the top of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's a war hawk. Of course, he ain't going to have a problem looking anybody in the eyes about this, criticizing a withdrawal. Of course he's not. He has no problem doing that either, okay? And now back to hands. All right, let's see what else he's got to say.
Got blood on my hands. Got blood on my hands. Flag of the Taliban. Over Afghanistan.
Oh, so you've got a problem with the Taliban's flag being over Afghanistan. You mean the same flag that was over Afghanistan before we ever went in? And understand, by the way, while the Taliban is not a great group people should honor to be like, they are, theocrats, basically, who govern off of a religion and a very outdated, old cultural way of thinking that suppresses the rights of a lot of people for freedom. They're not trying to take over the world. They are not on a jihad like ISIS or Al-Qaeda. That's not their goal. They are a guerrilla army. They had control of that country. We went in to take out Al-Qaeda. Then we took out Afghanistan. Then we tried to nation build. So the people back in charge are the people that were in charge before we ever went in. So what has really changed? These were the people that were in control for quite a while. Pretty sure that they were the people that kind of took control of the whole thing after, the Soviets were kind of kicked out, right? So this ain't the first time this has ever happened. Now, you could debate whether they should be in control or whatever, but that ain't the point. Like, to imply, oh, this is so terrible that we would let them take control. They already had control before we ever went in. And again, we didn't go in to truly do the right things anyway. We went in and stayed in for the business interests. That's what the end game was. When they found, now did Bin Laden have refuge in Afghanistan at some point? Absolutely he did. Where did they find the guy at, by the way? Pakistan. He wasn't in Afghanistan when he was found. He was in Pakistan. That ain't the same place. Not the same place. So we're occupying Afghanistan all that time, and this guy sneaks out the back door to a whole nother country, lives in a house with a bunch of women for God knows how long in a compound. Okay. Yeah, that was a great job we did to go over there and get the guy, right? And by the way, took over a decade almost. Actually, I think it was a little bit over a decade. What was it, like 2011 or 2012? 9/11 happened in 2001. So it took quite a while for us to finally get that guy. And he wasn't even in the country we went to look for him.
General Austin, is there no honor in shame? Can you spell pogrom without the letters in blame? Did Uncle Joe stick a drip in your veins? Hands.
First off, I don't know that Uncle Joe stuck a drip in anybody's vein because I'm pretty sure he needs one himself, but whatever.
I can't hear her scream. If she's not, she's not, she's not on TV. I can't hear him scream. If he's not, he's not, he's not on TV. To every Afghan ally that we left behind, every child who won't know freedom, faces covered in blindness for this American promise. Now shit in the fire. Hands got blood on our hands. Hey Joe, just one American. Asking what's happening.
Okay. So, okay, he goes on with General Austin, and then look, this has some serious irony to it. I can't hear her scream. If she's not on TV. What the hell is he trying to say with that? He's trying to say the innocent people that we left behind that now face death, that I guess people don't care because they're not on TV. What the hell were you watching, dude? Mainstream media loved Joe Biden until he did something that the military-industrial complex did not like. And then they just criticized Biden up one side and down the other. And one of the main talking points were the Afghan allies that were going to be left behind that face slaughter and face death from the Taliban now. Which, by the way, the Taliban said they weren't going to do, but did they do it or not? It's a different story. Okay? But the point being is, what the hell did you watch where no one heard about that? Because it was all that they talked about to criticize the guy. They talked about how lousy it was going to be, that, oh, they got our military equipment that we left behind. How about all the innocent people that won't know freedom, as you pointed out, or the innocent allies that helped us out, and now they could be slaughtered for being traitors to the greater goal here, traitors to the Taliban. You turned on your own people. You must be put down. This is the message they were running with for quite some time. So your argument that their death or what's going to happen to them is being ignored, simply put, that is bullshit, because it was talked about very much. But it's funny because, again, you're talking about those deaths and those blood on your hands being ignored, but what you don't hear about, at least definitely not as often, was the innocent blood that was on everyone or the leadership's hands from conducting the war. Did you hear the innocent kids that were killed in those drone strikes? Did you hear them scream, John? Did you hear them scream? How about the innocent men and women? Did you hear them scream? How about the kind of shit that has come out about these wars? Things like Snowden and Assange have leaked out, especially Julian Assange. Okay, Assange is responsible for he and Chelsea Manning for getting the information out about the double taps, committing war crimes. We go in, we hit an area, and then the first responders come in to try to treat the wounded, and we go back and we hit first responders. We hit medical people. That is a war crime. Did you hear about those screams on TV? No. And you wouldn't have found it out unless some independent reporter who now faces being jailed for telling us the truth came out and told you about them. So you got a problem with the blood on the hands for the withdrawal. But all throughout this terrible, lyrically batshit song, did you criticize the blood on the hands for conducting the war we never should have been in? Or at least stayed in as long as we did to nation build. It's not our job to nation build the world. If those people wanted freedom, like, they'll never know freedom and our promises aren't being kept, or however he worded it, right? Okay. Dude, when we wanted freedom, we were willing to fight and die for it. They tuck-tailed and fucking ran. Now, I'm assuming from this song, you obviously must be more right-leaning. You seem to have a problem with the way we withdrew from Afghanistan. You definitely replicated a lot of Trump's nicknames, so I'm going to assume. And they say assuming can make an ass out of you and me, but I'm going to do it anyway. You might be a little more right-wing. One thing about the right, the good old Republicans in the GOP, and I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, to make that clear. Maintain that label if I got to have one for years. Okay? I'm from the South. Heavily red down here. I know how Republicans and Republican voters feel about America. Okay? We're red-blooded Americans. We love our country. So, a lot of those same people, pro-gun. I'm pro-gun. I have a lot of those elements that I identify with. I'm from the South. I was raised in this culture. Okay? And they also have the idea that if a tyrannical government tried to come take everything away from us, we'd make that stand. That's why we need these guns, to defend ourselves from the people who would do us harm, take our liberty and take our freedom, and to fight a corrupt government if they ever tried to oppress the people. Because it's in our Declaration of Independence that if a government ever became too oppressive, it is the right and the duty of the people to overthrow such government and install a new one. And the reason that the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, and the First Amendment is the First Amendment, is because the First Amendment is what gives you a lot of your freedoms. And if the First Amendment gets trampled on, the Second Amendment can be put to use to take it back. People say that. So, if you're really that red-blooded American, you tell me, what would you do if an oppressive regime tried to come in and take your freedoms away? At the barrel of a gun. You gonna cower down like a little bitch? Or you gonna fight? I know what I would do. I know exactly what I would do if it came to that. Okay? So why do you not hold them to the same standard, dude? We left equipment there for the military they had to try to fight. And they, A, got their asses kicked. B, didn't fight. They just ran and surrendered. And the whole country fell in like a week to 2 weeks' time. Back to the Taliban. A week. Over 10 to 20 years in this war. Really? I mean, it was like 20 years, right? We were in this war. 2 decades worth of fighting and trying to nation build for everything we did to fall in a week to 2 weeks' time. Anyone who was serious about trying to fight for their freedoms would have fought a whole lot fucking harder than that. Now, could the Taliban have still won the battle? I don't know. It's possible. But guess what? The Afghan army outnumbered the Taliban by quite a lot. If it was a numbers game, they should have won. But they ran. They ran. So anyone who really wanted that freedom and was willing to fight for it would have done that. But they didn't. So that's our fault that they won't fight for their own freedom. It's our responsibility to play the world's police? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But now we get to the real good stuff. And the reason that I've been criticizing his lyrics, how creative he was with all of this, the reason that I have criticized that the way that I have, let's just start reading some comments here. Okay? This was 2 weeks ago. Now, to be clear, the song itself has been up for right at a month. It came up on September 13th, 2021, okay? The guy commented, okay, this feels like a for what it's worth for a new generation. Interesting to note that this song clearly struck a nerve with one of the biggest tech overlords having been removed from Facebook. Never stop reminding the tyrants of their sins. Now, I don't know if it was removed from Facebook or not. I haven't researched into that, but this is a for what it's worth for a new generation. Do not lump that pile of horse shit in with Buffalo Springfield's for what it's worth. That is a disgraceful comment to good music. That was music that truly embodied a generation, truly embodied the sentiments of what was going on with that time with civil rights and the war at Vietnam and all these other things that were affecting our society. That was good music. That is a classic that people still talk about to this day, and a song that I think is great. Okay, so where do you think this is like a for what it's worth? Because he said, I want to know what's happening. Which, by the way, he says at the end, just one American asking what's happening. You've been saying the whole song, blood on our hands, blood on my hands, blood on these hands. Sounds to me like you must know, at least in your opinion, what's happening, so that makes no sense. You've been saying the whole song, there's blood on my hands, there's blood on these hands, the people left to the Taliban, but what's happening? Like you don't know. You've been saying this entire time what you think is happening. Now, you got to ask what's happening. It makes no sense lyrically. Now, let's break down some of those for what it's worth lyrics from Buffalo Springfield. There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. So where do you think that that's where they're similar? Because of the first few lyrics of the Buffalo Springfield song? Because it sounds similar to certain lyrics in there? Well, let's go a little deeper into for what it's worth. There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me that I've got to beware. Okay? How many times does he go back and say, there's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear? He says that at the beginning. Then he goes into the chorus. Then he comes back. There's battle lines being drawn, and nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds. You know, getting so much resistance from behind. Okay, so he's actually giving more detail, more information about what's taking place in society. He's not just repeating the same couple of words over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Like I said earlier, there was actually more lyrics that were different from each other in Old MacDonald than there was in this song. Do not lump this in with a classic like For What It's Worth. Okay? John, this is without a doubt the greatest song you've ever written. Thank you so much for putting into words what so many Americans are feeling right now. Thank you for not being intimidated by today's cancel culture and for pouring your heart and soul out in this song. May God bless you and yours. if this was the words to put in how the Americans that feel bad about the people that were left behind felt, you couldn't, like, these are the only words you could come up with, then you're not a musical genius. Either that, or you're trying to imply that the people who feel this way must not have a high IQ and they can't come up with more proper sentences, in which case, it might be like Biden. That's pretty damn insulting. I don't think I would like that label at all. Go through a couple more of these here. While tears roll down my face of this latest travesty from the current administration, I am enamored that true Americans will not let these crimes go silent. I think meant silent. My opinion may not matter to our government, and I may be nanoscopic in the sphere of all this, but I am just one American who is grateful that we have people like John with a platform to share what I'm feeling. Thank you, John. So again, okay, you're crying about anybody that was left behind because of this war. How many tears did you shed about our troops that died in a war we should have never been in, or the innocent lives that were killed on the other side, on the Afghan side, as a result, again, of a war we never should have been in? How many tears do you shed for those people? I'm just curious. If you are emotional about all this, are you really emotional about the loss of life, or are you just emotional about the propaganda loss of life? The speculated to come loss of life? Or are you actually upset about the people that have really died as a result of that war? Love this song. My heart hurts for Americans and American allies in Afghanistan. My heart hurts for the soldiers who sacrificed for that country just to hand it over to our enemies. To all that served, it was not for nothing. Thank you for your service. Please hold your heads up high. This disgrace does not belong on your shoulders. Okay, no, it doesn't belong on the troops' shoulders. You're absolutely right about that. Your heart hurts for the troops that served. Mine does too. Not for the reasons yours does. At least I don't think. Mine hurts because of all the people who went and served under the guise they were serving our country to protect our freedoms, and they were really over there to fight for rich, corrupt assholes that wanted their hands on some lithium and wanted the heroin trade back up into full production so that the international laundered money could get back up to full swing and that international recession could go away. That's what my heart hurts about. Not because of a withdrawal, like, oh, their lives, their deaths were in vain. Understand this, their deaths, for what we said they were going there to do, have pretty much been in vain this entire time. Because they were going there under the notion, we're going to liberate a country and we're going to fight back against the people that attacked us on 9/11. And one of those reasons, I guess, is at least more understandable. The other one, not so much. We should not be nation building. Again, if you want freedom, you should be willing to fight for it yourself, like we did in the past. Like the Cuban people did. You might say, well, they didn't end up with true freedom. Doesn't matter. When they wanted to take their country, they did. You should hold them to the same standard. It's not our job. We've got people dying in the streets at home. How about the veterans? Like, you want to talk about veterans that died in vain? How about the veterans that went to serve in these wars that did come back, couldn't get a job, couldn't get a home, wound up homeless in the streets with health issues, addiction issues because of pain and trauma they suffered in these wars, and our country would not take care of them? Now, you probably have a bone to pick with that too. I would imagine you don't feel comfortable about that. But then you break down why we really went to these wars, and then it just makes it all the more worse. Overall, though, okay, this song has 442,921 views. It has 24,000 likes and 280 dislikes. This song was not even ratioed. For the people who have watched it, it apparently did pretty well. And even those who might have watched it because it got 442,000 views, but only 24,000 likes, well, that's a very small fraction of likes compared to views. So maybe everybody that watched it didn't like it, but only 280 people disliked it. Unless YouTube's messing with their stats here. I don't know. But that's not, it did not get ratioed at all. The like to dislike is way more in favor in the like column. People actually agree with this. This lyrically terrible song. Again, there was more lyrics that were different from each other in Old MacDonald. People like this. That's scary. That's scary. And it's obvious propaganda. It's hitting on the tragedies of the loss of life from a withdrawal, but mentions nothing about the tragedies and the loss of life from being there for 2 decades. That apparently was no issue. But the people who might face death, which again, we should have evacuated. I want to be clear on that. I'm not saying we should have left them behind. That was a failure on the Biden administration. But you've got this big ass bone to pick with that aspect of it and nothing to say about the other side of it. And that's pretty damn hypocritical in my opinion. Pretty damn hypocritical. But you guys let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on this song? Drop the comments in the comment box down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you next time right here on the Lone Wolf Podcast. Take care, everyone.